Hey, Kim, how are you?
I'm fantastic. How about you?
I'm good, but I am really cold today. What about you?
I'm wearing a ski jacket.
I have my heater on. It's May. What's going
It's
on?
it's crazy. It's the bone chilling cold.
It is. You look very different today. You have straight-ish hair.
Straight-ish. Yes, I
Straight-ish.
bought I bought a brush. It's called the Quick and Straight hairbrush. And I'll tell you, it was not so quick and it's clearly not so straight, but I thought I'd give it a try.
Well, considering you have like really tight ringlets, it looks very different.
I
I like it.
know. Some people say I look younger. I'm not so sure.
I think so. All right, so let's get started. Today, I'm going to read some responses from our Ask the Audience campaign, and where we asked two questions of our community members. Number one is, what is your biggest goal right now? And the second question is, what is standing in your way from achieving that goal? So
Good.
I'm gonna read a couple of these for you, and you're gonna do your coaching thing.
Okay, let's
All
go.
right. Okay. So number one, their biggest goal is trying to think about things positively, and to get some sort of anxiety relief. And what is standing in their way from achieving that goal is that their first thought in all circumstances is what could go wrong.
Okay. So a person wakes up in the morning and they think, okay, here's what I need to achieve. And what happens is the first thing that goes into their brain is what could go wrong. Okay. So ideally, we want to have this person think what could go right. Right. So, but they're not doing that. So they are going to that dark place. And so to reverse that trend is right now at this stage a little bit hard. So what we do want to do is actually have them go write down on a piece of paper or in their online journal. We want them to write down all the things that could go wrong.
Mm-hmm.
So that's okay. Write it down. And then say, okay, let's really look at what is the likelihood of all those things going wrong. And now let's look at what could go right. Right? Let's really examine what could go right. But in addition to that, if all those things go wrong, how would you handle it if they went wrong?
Mm-hmm.
So we've spoken about this a lot of times. We look at really, really top performers, really incredible leaders in the world. They never just be positive. They never just think, okay, here are all the amazing things and I'm just going to go forward without considering the negative. That's not what they do. They are people who are very good at mitigating risk. And how do they mitigate risk? By imagining for a moment, what is the risk, right? What could go wrong? But then what they do is say, if those things go wrong, here's how I will handle them. And once I feel comfortable knowing that I can bounce back if something goes wrong, then I'm much more comfortable moving forward. I'm much more comfortable taking the risk, right? So we would think that this conversation would be about how to get someone to think positively, right? But if you're a negative thinker, it's pretty hard just to flip the switch and think positively. That takes practice, takes discipline, takes muscle. And I encourage this person who's writing in to develop those skills of discipline and muscle. And, that might require some more dedicated coaching. However, in the short term, my encouragement is fine. You think things are going to go wrong? No problem. Let's write down how they're going to go wrong. And let's also write down how to address it when it goes wrong, how to bounce back when it goes wrong. And then end off your journal with what could go right. So when we're doing that, we're actually taking this person's thinking to a new place.
Right. So are you essentially saying that when they identify what all the things that can go wrong, they should come up with a plan on how to respond to those things should they go wrong, so they feel more prepared and less anxious if it does happen?
Well, that's the first step. I mean, ideally, we want them to skip that altogether and just go to what could go right.
Right.
But if that's not happening, right, it's all right to imagine what could go wrong and bouncing back from what could go wrong.
Right.
So I'll give you an example. not that long ago, one of my favorite all-time clients called me up and said, I need your help. My wife is struggling. She has this massive presentation to do, and she's completely and utterly anxious about it, fearful, paralyzed, even crying with fear.
Mm-hmm.
Can you help her? I said, well, when is the presentation? He said, in a week. I said, great. Let's organize a few coaching calls with some journaling in between.
Mm-hmm.
So we started off with a phone call, and I said, what's the presentation about? When is it for? Was that for a hospital? She was a social worker. It was a very important presentation. I said, great, here's what I want you to do. I want you to write about this presentation and write about all the things that could go wrong. And so she wrote about all the things that could go wrong. And then she said, but this isn't making me feel better. I said, it's not designed to make you feel better. Now I want you to write about how you will recover from all those things that would go wrong. Not how you might recover, how you will recover from all those things that are going to go wrong. And so she wrote that out. I said, now what I want you to do is imagine great success. What does that look like? What does that sound like? What are people saying about your presentation? How are they responding while you're up on stage? What's happening? And so she wrote that out. And what happened was she was able to literally neutralize the anxiety,
mm-hmm.
right? Because in her mind, she's like, okay, things could go wrong,
mm-hmm.
but I have the strength. I have the ability to respond and react and bounce back from that. It's not going to take me down.
Mm-hmm.
And now I'm going to spend a lot of time imagining this great success. What does it look like when I'm on stage? How do I sound? And I'm going to focus on that vision. I'm going to focus on that picture. And I'm going to reread that ideal scenario over and over and over again so that I go in with that energy and that visual in my brain.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What happened? It was a great success, and they asked her to do it again for a whole other audience.
Awesome. I love that. You know, as you're just even explaining the steps, I could feel the shift from focusing on, oh my God, what's going to go wrong and how that person would feel, to focusing on, okay, if this goes wrong, how am I going to respond? And then what is going to go right? Like just the shift in your thinking changes physiologically, like how you feel.
Yes,
because felt that even with you expressing that.
Right, because it takes you from feeling at risk, feeling vulnerable, to feeling victorious, even if you fail.
Yeah, and know that you have the power to respond the way you choose, and the way that serves you.
Right. So it's if I try to convince you that nothing will go wrong, you're going to say, I don't buy it.
I'm going to call BS on that one.
That's right. So I'm not here to convince you that nothing will go wrong.
Right.
But I certainly can convince you that if something will go wrong, you're not going to melt.
Right. It can be handled. Yeah.
Right. And you have it in you to deal with it.
Right.
So that is the approach.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I love that. Excellent. Okay. I have a second response here to those two questions that I mentioned earlier. This one's a little bit longer. Okay. So their biggest goal right now, I'm just going to read this through. I currently have a team of salespeople, 3, that are extremely brilliant and dedicated to their job. They make good money, but the potential to make obscene amounts of money is at their grasp. The problem is not the slumping sales, what they think it is, but their morale and their direction with their careers. Ouch. These kids are the best team and are bound for mega success. How can I put the soul back into their hearts and focus on all of the positives present in front of them? My goal is to coach these kids to mega success. So what is standing in his way? What is preventing him from doing that? He's not exactly sure of the approach to use to bring back their chutzpah. Any ideas? I know you have all the answers, Kim. LOL.
Okay. So there's 2 levels here, right? You have a leader of let's say a small team, and you have the team and the individuals in the team.
Right.
So first of all, the leader is saying, hey, I'm seeing something in front of me that's causing me to feel disturbed. I'm seeing something in front of me that is less than stellar. I'm seeing something in front of me that not only do I see friction, it causes me friction inside. And so that's the first thing that needs to be addressed as a leader. If you want to coach anyone else, you can't feel friction inside.
What does that do? So what happens when they do feel friction?
Because what happens is when I try to coach you and I see what's wrong with you, or I see what's negative about you, then that interferes with my ability to coach you. That steps into play. So my job before I coach you is to clean that up, is to completely and utterly erase, remove, set aside any friction that I feel with you, for you, about you. Any negative feeling, I need to clean that up. In coaching language, or in frame of mind coaching language, I need to take my story and I need to put it aside. And so the story he has is, hey, these people are at each other, they're being distracted by negativity, they're not seeing the potential. Those are all the negatives. Okay, so step one is he has to put those negatives aside. And he has to see just the potential they have. He has to be able to envision them in that state of making obscene money. And he has to be able to share that vision with them. So why doesn't someone see a vision for themselves, right? So if he says, hey, you know what? This is what I see for you. This is what's possible. This is what you're capable of. This is what we are capable of as a team. And here's what we need to do. Here's what we need to see. Here's what we need to mobilize in order to make that happen. Right? So notice that I'm suggesting in this case that the leader paints a picture, a vision, and provides only the actions or the attitude that he's looking for, rather than say, you're being distracted and you're doing all these wrong things. Right. I want him to focus on what's right and on what he wants.
So, yeah. Okay. We know about asking for what you want, not what you don't want.
Correct. Ask for what you want, paint a picture of what's possible. And now for this particular client, the reason why somebody has trouble living up to their potential or taking the actions necessary to get to where they want to go is essentially because they have a set of beliefs that get in the way. So in this case, he's suggesting the belief is the market's bad, or the competition is rough, or sales are slumping, right? Those are the beliefs. And what he needs to do is address those beliefs. How does he do that? He has to say something along the lines of, is this your belief? Do you believe sales are slumping? Let me show you what we've accomplished. Let me show you what's possible. Let me show you why we are in the perfect position to address this situation. While sales may be slumping out there, they're not slumping for us. Let me show you, right? And so that is how we address the fundamental problem. So A, he has to clean up his view of what these people are doing. B, he has to share a vision and say, here's what I see for you. Here's what's possible. Here's what we're capable of. Here's who we are and here's where we're going. And here's why you're on this team. Here's what I see. And number three is, are these beliefs interfering with your ability to get to this vision, to get to where we want to go? If they are, let's look at these beliefs and let's trade them in for something that's more useful, right? So for the person who's doing the coaching, for the leader, he needs to kind of learn all the coaching steps. I kind of boiled them down a little bit, but it always, every single time starts with him. He can never coach from a place of feeling tension or friction or a negative feeling for another person. It's impossible.
Right. And then understanding the beliefs of the people on the sales team and why they think the sales aren't going well. And then challenging those beliefs and asking them individually, do you really believe whatever answer they give to be true?
Well, it's not only challenging them, it's also offering a different possibility, right? So in this case, showing them something different.
Right?
Yeah. So he has a belief that sales aren't slumping. And so the question is, why does he believe one thing and they believe another thing? Perhaps he has a different set of evidence that he's using, or perhaps he has a different skill set that he's tapping into, or perhaps, for whatever reason, his approach is slightly different. His view is slightly different. So his job is not only to challenge their beliefs, but to show them what he sees.
So he needs to show them that it's not the sale, it's not the business that's slumping, the sales that are slumping, it's their morale, which is what his belief is, that their
Well,
morale is down.
right. He has to show them that their way of looking at things, their beliefs are really the item, the issue that is having an effect on their outcomes.
Right, right.
Right. So
Got it.
in the frame of mind coaching world, the way you think will impact your behavior.
Mm-hmm.
Right. So
Mm-hmm.
if I believe sales are slumping, kind of effort will I put in? How
Right.
many rocks will I overturn? Right. Like, what am I going to do?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. It's
I might
demotivating.
get, it's demotivating. I might get
Mhm.
discouraged. So what am I
Right,
going to do? I'm going to ride the wave. Right. I'll
right,
just do
right,
okay instead of really, really well. I'll say it's not my fault. Sales are slumping. Right. So the
right.
way I think about everything will affect how I show up and how I behave. And so what he needs to do is address the thinking, address the beliefs.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Excellent. Love that. Well, we have a bunch more questions, but we'll have to take them another day. I love this new campaign, and people are journaling in, and it's great to be able to touch people individually and answer their questions on here. So thanks so much, Kim. And for all of you who are looking to get to the next level, change your thinking and shift your being head to toe, go to Frame of Mind Coaching, www.frameofmindcoaching.com, and check us out.